Welcome into another edition of Pete's Pigskin Preview presented by RiverLand Roofing. I am Neal McCready. That is Pete DeWeese, our MPW Digital football expert, as we get you ready for the big one in Athens on Saturday afternoon, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central. It's fifth-ranked Ole Miss, ninth-ranked Georgia at, I think they call it Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium now.
Sounds right.
They're in Athens, Georgia. College Game Day will be there that morning. ABC's Big Crew will be there that afternoon. There's no question that it's a top 10 matchup, and the winner is in pretty phenomenal shape in the SEC. The loser's fine. Well, especially if it's Ole Miss. Ole Miss is okay if it loses. Georgia, if it loses, is
A little more difficult.
got a finger on the panic button at that point.
Yeah.
If the Bulldogs lose, so we'll talk about this game. We'll look back a little bit. Ole Miss had a escape against Washington State. Washington State played an A game. Ole Miss probably played a C to D game, and the result was a 3-point Ole Miss win. So we'll look back at a few things that Rebels 24/7 subscribers have asked Pete about, and then mostly we'll focus today on Georgia's offense as it gets ready to go up against Ole Miss's defense. Pete believes, and I agree with him, that this game, if you had to boil it down to one matchup, it's Georgia's offense versus Ole Miss's defense. That if the football gods dropped in and you could have one question, that might be the question you'd ask. How'd that go? And then if they told you, you'd probably have a pretty good idea of how things turn out. So
going to be a strong indication.
So Pete's going to break that down in just a moment. First, I want to tell you that we have been brought to you all season by our good friends at RiverLand Roofing. When it comes to durable, high-performance roofing, RiverLand stands above the rest as a licensed, insured GAF Master Elite Certified Roof Replacement Contractor with more than 60 years of combined experience. RiverLand specializes, in roof repairs, replacements, and maintenance for both residential and commercial properties. RiverLand Roofing combines expert craftsmanship with cutting-edge roofing technology to ensure long-lasting protection for your home or business. Their team of manufacturer-trained specialists deliver top-tier service while staying within your budget. So whether you need a minor roof repair or you're like me and you needed a complete roof replacement, RiverLand provides customized solutions tailored to your needs. To learn more, call RiverLand at 662-644-4297. or visit their website, riverlandroofing.com. Please make sure that you tell RiverLand Roofing you heard about them on MPW Digital. If you're watching this, great. If you're not watching, if you're watching this, you should know that it was produced by Caroline McCready, who happens to be related to me. If you're just listening to this, you really should watch. I'm going to put it up in podcast form because people are driving to Athens. Some people might not have the opportunity to watch. If you're listening, make this a part of your viewing habits. I know we put a lot of things up on live streams and videos, and people say, I don't have time to watch this. I don't have time to watch that. I get it. I understand. I'm a big OKC Thunder fan, and there's 2 or 3 podcasts that I really like, and sometimes I can't listen to them all. So I understand that. But this is one that you should put at the top of your list. If you're going to the game, if you're watching the game, and you're like, hey, I want something to look for next week when Ole Miss goes to Oklahoma, week after that when South Carolina comes to Ole Miss, you should make watching this, my opinion, do what you want to do. You should make watching this a part of your routine. I think you'll find that the games are more enjoyable. I catch myself, and I'm at the game in the press box with binoculars. I catch myself watching keys that Pete's pointed out, and I find my game watching experience to be frankly more enjoyable because I feel like I'm a little more informed. So Pete, thanks for that. How are you?
No, thank you. Thanks for the kind words. I'm good. Enjoying the bye week. Just got back from a little family getaway and looking forward to recording this and getting about the rest of my week.
Okay, we'll go. We'll jump right into it. The screen is shared, so you can take over whenever you want to. You said that some subscribers had some questions about Washington State. So let's tackle that before we turn to the dogs.
Yeah, we did, and I'll be honest, I was driving to Orange Beach during the game, and So I wasn't able to watch it. My poor wife is riding shotgun and she's refreshing scores every 30 seconds and doing her best to keep me updated. And if we hit a red light or hit somewhere slow in traffic, I'm on Twitter and trying to kind of keep up with what's going on. And so obviously, a lot of people experienced it live and experienced a lot of frustration through it. I watched it with a fresh set of eyes. Really partially Sunday night and a little bit Monday morning, and so um, things tend to look a little bit different when you watch them with a fresh set of eyes and you remove some of the emotion and some of that kind of stuff. And all coaches know that it's never as good as you wanted it to be. It's never as bad as you thought it was. The film kind of just lays some truth out there. And look, the reality is, from by all accounts, Washington State fans showed up in Oxford and fell in love with the place and had a phenomenal time
That is true.
and
They were there in droves, man.
in droves. And listen, they
I,
weren't the
at
only
least
ones.
at least 5,000 people.
And they weren't the only ones that got off the plane with the plan, because I mean this Washington State team showed up ready to play, and so I don't know if there's anybody from Washington State that can be disappointed in their trip out, including the team. Obviously, you'd love to walk out of there with the win, but they had a good plan. They executed things fairly well, and ultimately, Ole Miss just did not execute at the level that they've been executing. It's what Kiffin warned about all week last week. And so I did. I had a few people, tag my handle on 247. I had a couple of people send me messages, and just, hey, what happened? Why were we not overly successful offensively in particular? I don't think the defense had a bad day by any means. But offensively, Ole Miss, they sputtered at times. The red zone offense was not good. Kiffin obviously addressed that. He made some quarterback comments. And so, I thought I would just kind of go back and so I pulled a handful of plays from the game that I thought kind of exemplified just some of the issues that Ole Miss had. And listen, it is beyond easy for everybody to get excited about what we've seen out of this Ole Miss offense and out of Trinidad Chambliss. But it's still Division I college football at a high level. And defensively, they came out and threw some interesting looks at the Ole Miss offense. And I didn't feel like Ole Miss always responded the way that they could have. And so I'm just going to start again. I got a handful of clips, right? Just kind of randomly selected, me taking notes as I'm watching the game. And so this was one of the first ones that stood out to me, and it stood out and I wrote it down. And then as I continued to watch, I kind of started to see a little bit more of the same. It happened a couple of times in the game. Corrections were made in the second half, and it got a little bit better, but this is early in the game, and this is Ole Miss comes out in an empty set. And so one of the things that Ole Miss loves to do, they like to tempo into this set. So there's no running backs in the backfield. There's five guys split out. And what they most often seem to run here is a version to the three receiver side of what a lot of teams call shock. So it's an outside release hitch by the outside receiver.
For the people who can't see it, Pete, just so you know that I think I remember this was very early in the game.
It is.
This is Keywan Lacey at the bottom on the I guess this would be the boundary side.
Keywan Lacey is all the way to the bottom on the boundary side, the short side of the field. He's the widest guy in the three receiver set. Okay.
Yeah, I remember this.
Your typical outside receiver is lined up just inside the numbers, and then you've got your tight end flexed out a little bit. He is going to run a stick route. Okay, so what you're giving the quarterback to that side of the field is just an easy read. If everything is soft, if the corner bails, he has an easy open hitch to a playmaker in space. If they press and get into man coverage, the number two receiver is running the slot fade, and he's going to have a matchup most likely on a safety. And you just took one of your outside guys, one of your dudes, moved him inside by formation and potentially created a mismatch problem. If they just wanted to play zone and play cover three, instead of running that wide to the numbers, he would probably keep it skinny up the seam and try to really find the void in that zone. If they pressure from that side, or if they don't do a good job rotating the coverage, you get the easy stick route. Now, to the field, Ole Miss a lot of times will run either some version of a double slant or some type of like hitch or curl routes that are just designed to go attack space and read it. So anytime you're in this type of empty formation, the quarterback's got to set his protection. Some teams allow the offensive line and the center in particular to make some of these adjustments. A lot of times it is going to be triggered by the quarterback. And a lot of times the quarterback's going to have final say. Well, I'm going to let the play run fully from the wide angle, and then I'm going to go to the end zone angle, and we're going to show you the problem. Okay. So if the play just runs, okay, you see they get pressure off of the boundary side, and Chambliss escapes, and he gets a couple yards, kind of saves himself a little bit. If he is protected, Ole Miss has who it wants.
Two different guys that can go to
running wide open right down the middle of the field. You've also got a wide open guy up top on the curl route, easy conversion, but you've got a touchdown. Kiffin is in the traditional Kiffin hands up, pose on the sideline already because he sees it. You got guys pointing at it. They got the look they wanted.
Deuce Alexander's wide open. Running down the numbers.
You got the look you wanted. You got the coverage you wanted. They're trying to rotate coverage right there. Well, the issue arises with protection. When you watch the offensive line and focus on the center and the guards, okay, you can see that they slide to the right. They set the protection with a 3-man fan to the right, and that puts you man-to-man on the weak side. Well, if you divide it and do the math, he must have been worried about 44, or there's another defender, I think he's number 8, that comes running in late. So pre-snap, the math tells him, hey, I feel like I'm overloaded to my right side, going to get pressure from my right side, so that's where I'm going to set my fan. The reality is this player here should be free to pick up because if he blitzes, you get a hot route to throw and replace the ball with. But a lot of times, if you feel like, especially if you feel like you got a chance at your vertical shot, you're going to slide your protection to this 3-man surface because he is certainly showing blitz posture, right? Everything about that look is a pressure look. So here the O-line slides right, and 61, the left tackle, does a good job. You're always going to take most dangerous. So he starts to work out, realizes he has an inside pressure, so he hammers back in to protect the closest point to the quarterback, but that leaves the edge rusher free off the field. Now his eyes are to the left. They're where they're supposed to be. If the protection holds up any longer, it's probably a touchdown to Ole Miss. Because the center slid the wrong way, had the fan been working to the left, the center would have ended up on this tackle. Left guard would have ended up on 0 as he blitzed. Left tackle would have ended up here on the edge rusher, and it's likely touchdown Ole Miss.
So is that Bryson reading it, or is that Chambliss calling where Bryson needs to go?
So against an even front, and that's what you have here. So the center is not covered. You have 4 down linemen. The center is not covered. Typically, you're going to be in some type of if there were one backer in the box, you might be in what's called the big-on-big protection. But here, the way the backers are split, you're going to pick a side and slide it. My guess is the quarterback set his protection here, and the center doesn't have authority to change it. If they were in an odd front, if the center was covered, and you had a similar look where maybe just this guy was over, now you're either going to, again, slide it, or you can get back into that big on big, and you're basically saying we're accounting for the guys at the line of scrimmage and the most interior defender, whoever the 5th one is. Somebody's still going to be hot off of a pressure look. So whether it's on the quarterback or the center, I can't fully tell you because I'm not in those meetings. But here, if you slide the opposite direction, it's likely a touchdown for the Rebs. Okay, just a couple plays later. All right, Ole Miss is going to come out. They're going to be balls on the left hash, and they're going to put the passing strength, so 3 receivers into the boundary, into the short side of the field. They're going to put a single receiver up top. So a lot of times when Ole Miss does this, there's going to be somebody at the bottom of the screen that they're going to attempt to throw a screen pass to. You've got 2 blockers in front. You've got 1 guy to catch a screen pass. to the top of the screen, it's usually some type of a hitch route. Okay. For the quarterback, it's a math game. How many defenders are in the box? Because I have five guys to block. One, two, three, four. The mic is a fifth. This is an extra defender that I cannot account for. And if this guy comes, he is an extra defender that I cannot account for. Now I got all this cushion up top. And if this guy wants to get into the run fit, the ball is probably supposed to go out to the hitch up top. And that's something Ole Miss does well, is something Chambliss has traditionally done well. If he starts getting movement from this side, or if he feels like he can't get the ball to the hitch, then it's all about, do I like my numbers at the bottom? So again, I'm going to let it run from the top. He chooses to take to pull it right here, and he throws the screen out wide. Now the math isn't wrong. The execution is poor, right? Quite honestly, it's a tough angle for that outside receiver. And when the guy just knifes up field, you really have to work hard as the receiver to get inside leverage, which he does, but now you want to stay square. So as he does attack, and in this case attacks outside, you can just wall him and run him, and now you force the safety to make the tackle. Well, what happens here is he comes up, he gets inside leverage, and then now he turns. And as soon as he turns his hips, he's just giving that guy a soft angle to now go attack. Okay. On film, I'm willing to bet they had a conversation about the hitch route to the field. If he pulls up and he throws the hitch right there, it's one of the most explosive players on your team, and he's a broken tackle away from a walk-in touchdown. Right? Those are the things we're so accustomed to seeing this operate and happen in this offense, and that we've seen from him this season, and that was not there on Saturday.
So you're saying they likely questioned decision-making on film?
It's not that he made a bad decision. The execution was poor by the outside receiver.
Yeah.
But typically when you give
a better decision would have been up front.
Correct. Top. When you give Ole Miss that type of cushion to the field, they usually take advantage of it. And for me, I was surprised to see that they weren't, or that they did not, I guess. Gotcha. Is probably a little bit more accurate. Okay. So it's the same partial concept that I showed you a minute ago in empty, but now they're going to do it with 4 receivers instead of 5. Okay. And this is actually the exact same play call that got so much attention coming out of the LSU game. You've got this outside dig or glance route. The running back is going to check out, pull to the flat, and then to the field, it's either going to be a stick or he's going to work out. You've got the slot fade or seam route from the number 2 guy, and the widest guy is going to maintain his hitch. This is the same ball, again, that national pundits were raving about during that LSU game. And you watch it wide here. It's a base concept for Ole Miss. They do it all the time. And he just flat out misfires. It's the exact look you want. It plays out the exact same way that it did against LSU. And if you watch it from the end zone here, he just leaves it behind his receiver. He knows exactly what he wants to do. You can see how big the window is there to throw the football.
Yeah.
He overextends the front foot. His hips are pointed here, but he's trying to throw the ball here. Well, the arm tends to lag behind a little bit, reduces accuracy, and that's exactly what happens right here. Okay. That's 3 plays I've now shown you that are within a 4-play span in live action play.
Yeah.
And all 3 of those plays that I've shown you could have easily been explosive gains for the Ole Miss offense. And so those are those just little miscues that you absolutely have to eliminate. This is an example of another one. Ole Miss goes with a big play action right here. They just leave in, and they're going to protect with 7. And so what they're trying to do right here is isolate Caden Lee on the safety, and Caden is going to work a double move to the middle of the field. They get the coverage look that they want. The weak side safety comes down low. Caden's over the top. And it just, if this ball, and we'll go to the end zone copy, if this ball leads him, you're talking about a touchdown for Ole Miss. If this ball, Caden Lee, if you're looking at the screen, is coming in from right to left, he is outpaced. I mean, he has a good 3 to 4 yards of separation inside of the safety that's responsible for covering him. If the ball is thrown to the opposite goalpost, almost opposite hash, it's probably a touchdown. He throws it more down the middle, even more to the near goalpost, and the result is the safety has a chance to recover. If he just throws that ball to the left hash, it's probably a touchdown for Ole Miss. Again, here, not able to kind of make that throw. Part of it, there is some pressure at his feet. If you watch it live, um, guy kind of trips, falls, and stumbles, and he's not fully able to step into the throw, and that takes some of the juice off of it. And it's it just again, it's another opportunity. It could have been a huge play for the Ole Miss offense.
That was the pick that got
That was the
overturned
one that
on
I
the
believe got negated. Yeah,
defensive holding or something.
yeah, I
Yeah.
believe. Yes, I believe so. All right, here's another one. Again, just another, RPO wise, right? It's life. It is a numbers game. Okay, so or my bad, I got the wrong one labeled here. Okay, so right here. Okay, easy throw and catch. This was actually a good clip, not necessarily one that I meant to show you, but I do think they did a good job once they realized how Washington State was going to play when they put the strength of the formation into the boundary and realized they were getting this soft cushion to the field. Ole Miss started to do a good job of taking advantage of that in the throw game in particular. All right, here's the last one. Okay, this sack, missed touchdown. Just again, just kind of poor execution right there. Okay, but this is another opportunity. He has the look that he wants. So they've shown the double move post. They've matched up on the safety and gotten the sell the corner, hit the post, and that's the one that we just watched. This one here, he's going to drive and he's going to show like he's running a post or a dig route, and then he's going to jump back outside into a sluggo off of a deeper stem. If you just run it from the top, stem, boom, ball right now, that's Watkins running absolutely past the safety right here. If you
Oh,
watch it from the end
oh,
zone,
that's a touchdown if he just lets it go.
it,
Yeah.
it doesn't even have to be a great ball. Okay. And the reality is here, the protection's not awful. He feels the ghost here.
Oh, I see
He's
what you're
got
saying.
time to
Yeah.
he's
So
got
he
time to stick
thinks.
his foot in the ground and throw that ball.
I'm sorry to keep interrupting. This is
No,
fast.
you're
So,
good.
so the guy, I think it's. Can you go back a little? I think it's 93. He's like a nose tackle.
Yes.
He's got a double team, and he thinks he's beat it, but in reality, he really didn't have it beat. If he just lets it go, he's going to get hit. But he
Right
throwed him out
now,
right there.
ball should be out.
Boom,
Yep.
because it's a
I don't know
touchdown.
if he feels this pressure from 8 or if he feels this from 93.
Oh, I didn't even
Um,
see 8. I was
but
I was kind of like doing his eyes, and I'm looking at 93, and he thinks he's going to get me, and
but
so he
if we
tries
run
to
it
beat
back to
him.
the wide, watch him hit the top of his drop. 1, 2, 3, hitch.
Boom.
It's clean right now for him to throw the football, and
Yeah.
he's already open. The
Yeah.
the second the defensive back right now, it's a touchdown.
Touchdown right there.
That kid's not going to recover against
No.
that player,
No.
right? So Ole Miss is going to have to clean up some protection this week, but they're going to have to just hit those shots and not make those mistakes. That's going to be down the stretch in any big game. You have to eliminate those mistakes.
So I know you're not in the room, and I'm asking you to read some minds, which is dangerous. So in the event that you get this wrong, it's on me, not you. Is it your opinion that he's being too cautious, or that is he getting into the habit of watching the pass rush?
He played so differently than he did against LSU. And I don't know what that was. It can be a lot of different things. I mean, how much time in the bye week and even during the week last week did they spend working on Georgia? And maybe the looks that he got on Saturday weren't 100% what he was expecting because maybe he hasn't seen them enough. That's a real thing. I don't know that happened. I'm not predicting that happened, but it very likely that happens. It's real. Um, at the same time, there's always the you get into a game and all of a sudden maybe their pressure's been better than you anticipated, and just kind of nerves can take over, and guys start feeling and seeing ghosts sometimes that aren't there. But I also think, I mean, listen, you're talking about this is clip 114 from the game. So you're talking later in the game and you're talking about an offense that's been sputtering, that's not used to sputtering. So yeah, your third quarter right here, 3:35 left to play. Kids get antsy, right? Everybody wants to make a big play. Everybody wants to, that's a real thing too. And just kind of feeling that pressure of trying to unlock things. And for him, a kid that's had so much success with his legs, any sign of pressure for him, instinct might just kick in. That's, I can't tell you definitively any of those are the
Yeah.
answer, but I do think all of those things are at play, at every level of football.
It's funny you say that because someone made a baseball analogy to me. They knew I was asking, I was like, hey, what do you think kind of happened? And they're like, this was Saturday. The Cubs were getting ready to play game 5 against the Brewers. And they're like, well, I know you're a baseball guy. So this is kind of like you get into a late inning game. It's
Yep.
close and everybody's swinging for the fences.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to, it's not that they're being selfish. They're just trying to,
Yep.
hey, let's win this thing. Let's figure out a way to win this thing. If I hit one out here, we'll win. We'll move on.
There were a couple of those. I mean, look, for as good as Lacey has been, and he was certainly good on Saturday, there were one or two plays on Saturday when I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh, well, if he just sticks his foot in the ground and goes right here instead of cutting all the way back, like he's trying to hit the big play, when the reality is if he just does what he normally does and gets vertical right here, it is a big play. And so, yeah, I think that's a good analogy. I really do.
So I don't know whether you're ready to transition to Georgia or not. I'm curious if you're Kirby Smart and you're the people at Georgia when you watch this film, and they absolutely did. Do you take some things from this and go, all right, there's some things we're going to attack, or do you just
They've
keep doing you?
they've had their scout prep on Ole Miss, and they've had a plan for weeks, right? And the plan has been, the pieces have been coming together for weeks.
Yeah.
And then when they walk off the field after Auburn and they sit down as a staff for the first time, they start rolling that plan out. Here's what the advanced scouts, the GAs, player personnel, whatever. Here's what they've given us, right? So then you start watching some film together, and maybe something does pop up that you didn't necessarily have on your page, and you start to talk about it, right? But a lot of times, I don't think they're going to come into this and overhaul what they were already
Yeah.
thinking, right? It's not going to, they're going to point to the LSU game a lot more than they point to this game, right?
It's one of the reasons I love this show is because we get your insight on this, where I think fans and media, I'm not immune to this, go, oh wow, they got exposed. There's going to be all this stuff that Georgia's going to see, and they're going to. And the truth is, it's you're far more ahead than that.
No, yeah, you are, but I mean, again, yeah, if you find a flaw, if you find something, you're going to take advantage of it. But Georgia's also not going to change their identity. They have the ability to be very multiple on defense. They're not going to look at what Washington State did and go, let's do that, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of it was good execution, but a lot of it was also Ole Miss just didn't execute, right? It wasn't, the plan wasn't awful. It wasn't just, they were not on their A game that day. And I know that, I'm sure, you know, I would be willing to bet that Kirby and the rest of that staff, that they all are confident in their matchup against Ole Miss, while at the same time know that they're going to have to go play well. And they also know that it's unlikely that Ole Miss shows up with the same caliber performance and focus that they showed up with against Washington State. It's going to be different in Athens.
Yeah, because to some degree, I mean, we talked about this just in a very brief pre-show. You've got Kirby Smart. This is year 11, I think, at Georgia. They've obviously had a tremendous amount of success. They to some degree are who they are, and it's year 6 for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, and there's a lot of continuity on their staff, and they've had a lot of success. And in some ways, they are who they are. I mean, there's not going to be a lot of secrets and surprises on Saturday.
No, and I mean, look, you may have something in the bank that you haven't rolled out yet, but and that wrinkles on offense in particular. Like, there's not many teams that are to come out and they may show any pressure. They're probably not rolling out some brand new coverage. If they've made it this far into the season and haven't used it, right? I don't know if you'll see it, you know. And so yeah, I don't think it's going to be crazy. I truly do. wonder, and this is not me questioning people that get paid a lot more than me and have won a lot bigger ball games than I'll ever coach in. You know, how much prep in the last 2 weeks was spent looking at red and black and not crimson and silver or whatever they call it, you know?
I mean, he he,
'Cause
he
that's,
basically admitted that they had spent
yeah,
a decent amount, if not all, of the open date on Georgia.
yep. And it's hard to refocus. It's hard to say, hey, let's go look at this team. And now, hey, let's pretend that's not happening next week. Let's focus on this. It's
Well,
hard.
they're human.
Absolutely.
You're a 32.5 point favorite. People go, well, the betting line doesn't matter. Okay, but you watched film of them losing to North Texas by 40-ish points. I mean, you just beat LSU. You've beaten Arkansas, Kentucky, Tulane. I mean,
It's natural.
I'm
It
not
absolutely is.
excusing it, if you will, but the human part of you goes, we're not losing today.
Right. Correct.
And then, next thing you know, it's a football game. And the longer
Yep.
it goes, the shorter the game goes. And by the time you get to the last 10 minutes, Washington State goes, we don't have to be better than them for 365 days. We have to be better for 10 minutes.
Right now. That's right.
Yeah. And so, then you get what you get. One
Yep.
team's like, hey, we got nothing to lose. Let's let it all hang out. And the other team's going, oh my God, we're about to piss our season away.
And that is a hard spot to be in.
Yeah, of course. That's the human part of it that I think we're all media, fans, everyone pretty guilty of ignoring.
Yeah. Because it's a real thing for sure.
Yeah, they're not, this, you coach kids. They're not robots.
No.
If they were robots, you'd be able to program stuff in and you'd go, okay, well, here's what I'm going to get. But that's not how it works. They're people with other stuff going on and things in their minds and pressure, and different people respond to pressure in different ways, and
Absolutely.
stuff. I mean, the human element's really real in sports.
No, it's very real. It is. And listen, I think you saw the potential downside of it last weekend, and I think this weekend, that's it. It can work both ways, good and bad, on the highs and the lows, right? And it's going to be managing that same human element on Saturday. You can't be too geeked up. You can't be too out of your mind. There's kind of that right level of intensity and focus that still keeps you kind of dialed in. I mean, if you go back to a couple of years ago, when Ole Miss traveled to Athens, and that game got away from them in a heartbeat, and ultimately, I think that Ole Miss came in there geeked up, fired up, talking about this big game, and just as soon as the wheels fell off emotionally and mentally, it just started to kind of pile on them and steamroll, right? And so that's the same kind of thing can happen. Like, I mean, if you go in overly confident and Washington State shows up and you're not executing and they are, like you said, yeah, that human element, that doubt sets in, that need to feel like you got to hit the home run in the bottom of the seventh, and all those different kind of things we've talked about. Every bit of those things are real, and again, you're going to have to balance the same human element Saturday in Athens, and so being able to cut down on the um, on the mental mistakes and execute at a higher level is certainly going to be more important because you are playing a better football team on Saturday than you did last week.
Yeah.
So
If you want to turn to Georgia, go ahead.
yeah, absolutely. Obviously, and for those that if you are new for watching or listening to the show, I am from Mississippi, but I've been in Georgia since 2007, 2008. Coaching high school ball in here. I've had a few kids play for Georgia, and I've got one currently committed to Georgia that will sign in the spring, or I guess really later this semester. But it's they're a good football team. Kirby's been there 11 years. He's done a great job. He's had some turnover, and we've talked about on here. It's harder and harder to maintain a roster at the level that things were kind of pre-portal. And for a couple of years there, they were putting together rosters that were just NFL farm teams, and they're not the same, but they're still so talented.
Yeah.
I think my wife and I were laughing. She was like, "Are you going to talk about our daughter tonight on the show?" I've got a first grader that we have loved her experience with her teachers so far. The only indoctrination our kindergartner got was when her kindergarten teacher, who's a Georgia Bulldog alumnus, somehow got my daughter to become a huge UGA fan.
Is
Right.
that
So
right?
listen, that my 6 year old she's not barking at people yet. We don't allow that in this household. But she is all about some Georgia Bulldogs. So
That's great.
she was asking me, Daddy, what are you going to say about the Georgia Bulldogs? But so yeah, I mean, they're a good football team, and defensively, the matchup with the Ole Miss offense is going to be interesting. They are still a talented defense. They are not what they have been at times in the past. I mean, we saw Tennessee score 41 on this defense, and it's a Tennessee offense that's operating at a high clip, right?
Yeah, sure.
Auburn kind of had them on the ropes and scored 10, and Freeze will tell you that they should have scored more, and so will some others. And so, they're still good. They're not what they were. I mean, I was looking at the numbers before we started tonight. Um, Georgia has always been dominant in the front, always, and they're still great against the rush. They're sixth in the SEC in rushing defense with very respectable numbers against some good programs. Um, but they typically have had the ability to turn you over. They've had the ability to create negative plays and get sacks. And I was looking at it. Georgia currently has 8 sacks on the season. Ole Miss has 9.
Mhm.
Right now, that Georgia schedule, you've played Alabama, you've played Tennessee, you've played Kentucky and Auburn. So they've played a tough schedule, right? But again, you're talking
They
about
played two really good SEC
they,
teams.
they
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 played the
have.
worst SEC team, and I think Auburn's below average. I'm sorry, and I do.
Auburn's yet to prove that they're not.
Right.
Right. They seem to have a roster that can punch maybe above its weight, and right now it's not doing that. Or maybe it is. Maybe their roster is punching above its weight, and it's still not. I don't know enough because I've watched them, but not enough. But bottom line is, you're talking about a Georgia team that they're not used to sitting at this point in the season through 6 games and only having 8 sacks.
Yeah.
That's
No, for
that's not
sure.
the norm for them.
For
They're
sure.
they're 11th in the conference in passing defense.
Hmm.
Um, the not getting consistently to the quarterback, giving up plays on the back end, is not the norm for them. You look at third down defense, and offensively, Ole Miss is converting. I think it's something like 50 some odd percent, 52, 53% on third downs on the season, which has got them like fourth or fifth in the SEC, I believe. But you look at this Georgia defense, they're allowing their opponents to convert 41% of the time. That's in the bottom half of the league defensively, right? And so Ole Miss is certainly going to have to show up and play better offensively against this Georgia team than they did last Saturday. And the Georgia defense will not be a joke. There's certainly some guys on there that have a lot of ability. And they have a great coordinator and a great defensive minded head coach. So it's not going to be a walk in the park. But like you said earlier, I think that so much of this is going to come down to that matchup between this Georgia offense and this Ole Miss defense. And part of that is one of the things that we talked about last week was what we've seen from this Ole Miss defense is Pete Golding has gone to a little bit more zone. He's got 2 high safeties. You're good if you need to step away, but
Just
they
one
played
thing.
yeah, played more zone, played more 2 high safeties, and really challenged people to throw the ball underneath. But they've in particular done this not against running quarterbacks. They've had to be a little bit more aggressive. You need that extra defender against running quarterbacks. Well, for Georgia, Gunnar Stockton runs enough, right? He is effective enough. He is a physical runner. He is not afraid to run. And so that is kind of going to be a big part. And the thing I'm curious to see with this Ole Miss defense is, do they choose to play with 2 safeties? Do they add an extra defender to the box? And do they believe enough in the downfield passing game of this Georgia Bulldog offense to threaten the secondary? Or are they going to try to force them to play underneath? So we're going to take some time and we're going to highlight just some of the things, focusing on clips from this Georgia Auburn game. One thing about Georgia that you always have to pay attention to, if you're a fan, if you're a defensive coordinator, especially or a player, you have to pay attention to personnel. There are certain personnel tendencies and personnel keys. Okay, they have three tight ends that they can and do use somewhat effectively. They have two that they primarily rely on. Okay, one is four, Oscar Delp. The other is number seven, Lawson Lucky, both Georgia products. And they use those guys and they give them a lot in the offense with the multiplicity that those tight ends give them. And so they'll do a lot of different things. Here, they're going to start with the tight end out wide, and then they are going to motion him in tighter to the box. Now, they're doing that for one, to give Gunner an indication on coverage. Does somebody travel with him? Is it man to man? Is it zone? They'll do it to run the football. They'll do it to throw the football. They do a decent job of window dressing both things. Okay. Here, absolute monster sack by this Auburn defense early in the game. But if you look on the back end, there's not a lot of windows to throw the football. If the ball is thrown in rhythm, you do have a chance to throw the outside sail route to the left side of the offense. You might be able to come backside and throw your dig down here, but they love throwing these underneath crossing routes to the tight end. And that's probably where he's fixing to go with this football. If you go to the end zone copy, we talked about protection issues with the Ole Miss offense last week. Okay, you can see here the center's actually trying to alert the running back or the quarterback one to number 0. He's going to be their unblocked defender right now. They change it. So now they change the slide. So they just change the slide. Now the offense, what we talked about kind of earlier, all right, is now they're going to change and they're going to slide one direction, and they're expecting the running back to fit in here on number 0. Well, the running back go ahead and comes across the quarterback and gets buried in there. And when that blitzer comes back around, they lose him. Okay. If that's not the protection, then what they're saying is that these two are going to combo to him and they're bringing the running back for anything off the edge. Well, if that's the case, what's got to happen here, 56, who is a massive individual and a great football player with a great upside, but he's also a young football player. So you see here, 56, the left guard, gets buried a little bit. The center squeezes to him. In a perfect world, 56 comes off on him, 74 stays on the nose. What ends up happening is 56 stays buried on the nose. The center sees it and looks at it, realizes it late. And after the play, you see him, he's trying to tell 56 right there, right? He's trying to tell him, hey, dude, you messed that up. You got to see that. I alerted the twist right here. You got stuck. So just this simple, just cross action, coming across and around, the kind of combo loses because the guard lost eyes right there, ends up being a big hit. So, there is opportunity to get to the quarterback against this Georgia offensive line. And some of it is because of their youth. And some of it is because they haven't been overly explosive down the field. And you can maybe get him to hold on to the ball just a little bit more. Okay. Now we talked before the last clip about recognizing and understanding personnel. And if you've watched Georgia football any in the last 3 years, then one of the first alerts that you should see is when number 32 comes on the field at tailback, Cash Jones. High likelihood. Now they'll hand it to him, but I think he has 8 carries on the year and he's got 10 catches, 12 catches. High likelihood it is a pass, often involving him or some type of a screen, be it to him or somebody else when he's on the field. So as a defense, these are the things you wanted them to prove, that they're going to line him up in the backfield and hand him the football. Otherwise, you start indicating what the likelihood is of it being a pass or a screen as soon as 32 rolls in the game. So again, they start in empty. Then they're going to motion him back into the backfield. So they were trying to let the quarterback see the coverage, let the blockers in this case, because it is a little screen to the tailback, kind of see things unfold. Now they're going to motion him again, and now they're just going to turn and take the numbers out there and throw the screen to him, okay? You're going to have to do a great job on the perimeter, managing perimeter screens against this offense. They dial them up a lot, whether it's like this to the tailback or they throw it to one of their outside receivers. they are going to throw a lot of screens, and you've got to do a great job limiting those screens. They'll throw them on first down, second down, third down. It does not matter. If they cross midfield, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, they'll throw a screen because they feel like if they get close enough, one, they're still in field goal range. Two, likelihood of going for it on fourth down, having a better down and distance situation than if you take a sack or something and end up getting knocked out of field goal range. Okay. So, that last play was a 1st and 10. Now you turn around. This is a 2nd and 3. And again, Jones is in the backfield. So again, as a defense, you're alerting to a pass situation. They do a good job of getting to kind of some staple spacing concepts. So typically, what you're going to do in some type of a spacing route and what we call is you're going to create a horizontal stretch along the underneath layer of the defense. So you're going to try to put this guy in a bind. Is he going to work in or is he going to work out? And you're going to try to fill both of those spaces and try to just stretch them out to keep them from being able to defend multiple guys. So this is an old concept known as a Hank concept. It's just a version of curl flat. The tight end is going to go sit down. For a lot of people, that's going to be at about 6 to 7 yards. They're going to end up with somebody in the flat on both sides, and both outside receivers are going to run 10-yard curl routes, sometimes with a little bit of an inside stem. Now, this is kind of normal depth. Some teams will run it shorter. They'll run the routes, if it's a 3rd and 5, they may have a way of calling it where it's a 6-yard route, not a 10-yard route. But what you're trying to do is force somebody to go be the flat defender and then really put a stress on who those curl defenders are everywhere else. If you get man coverage, you like your flat routes and your easy throws, okay? And that's exactly here. It's easy. They get the zone coverage. You can see here, as soon as this player expands, the ball has a chance to hit now to the tight end. So the quarterback probably has his eyes right here on this wheel backer. If this wheel squeezes to him, then he's going to work the backside of the concept now because he should have 2-on-2 in the passing game. If that linebacker sits or expands weak, now his numbers are going to be better to the quarterback's left, and so that's where he's going to look. Here, if you go to the end zone copy, you can see as soon as Gunnar Stockton snaps this ball, boom, right there. He uses his eyes. He sees the wheels staying backside, so he's going to use his eyes to steer number 9, try to hold him in that curl window, give his tight end time. And honestly here, Lawson Lucky, the tight end, probably drifts a little bit further inside than the quarterback's expecting him to, ends up having to make a kind of a tough catch. What you really want him to do is feel number 9 leave and get skinny and not work himself into the danger. A 17, he kind of crosses a little bit more, but an easy throw and catch to try to help them move the sticks. They will get to those type of concepts several times throughout the course of the game. Okay. Again, this is the very next play in the game. It's kind of what I thought was a big drive for the offense. Okay. Again, Cash Jones is in the backfield. You're expecting pass in this situation. One thing about this quarterback is if you were going to flush him from the pocket and you are not going to contain the gaps. I mean, here Auburn is rushing 4. They need their defender on the right side to maintain some outside leverage here. They lose it. Stockton does a good job of stepping up to run the football. And in this game, there were 2 or 3 times where he steps up to run, defenders converge on him, and he finds a guy on the sidelines to move the sticks right here. I mean, you watch this, it's a big blow, but he does a great job. He feels the rush. He doesn't panic. He evades, keeps eyes downfield, finds this guy on the sidelines, converts, moves the sticks for the first down. He's he's an adequately mobile quarterback. He is very tough. People question his arm. He has shown the ability to throw the football. If you can shrink windows and make his, kind of get his feet moving a little bit, his accuracy goes down. That's the case with any quarterback. When you allow him to play in rhythm or you let him get outside of the pocket, that is where you can start to find some trouble from this offense. So here's just one of the examples of the screens that they like to run. Here, they're going to push Cash Jones this way, and the quarterback actually has a 2-way go. If he likes the numbers, he's going to be able to throw a swing out here to Cash Jones. If he doesn't like the numbers, he's going to turn and he's going to throw a tunnel screen backside to his outside receiver. They're going to take the tight end to go block the corner, and then they're going to get some of these linemen out to get in front. It is safe. It's great versus man-to-man. It's safe versus zone. It's a way to get the ball quickly into the hands of a playmaker. And so here he sees this defender expanding with the motion, so he knows right now which screen he needs to throw. So he's going to turn, rip it, and they do a good job right there and come out of it with the big game for the ball to end up down around the 5-yard line. Easy throw and catch, easy decision making from the quarterback, good execution. The big guys do a good job getting out front right there. What they're going to do to try to slow the defense is they're actually going to pull this guy to make it look like quarterback run because it is a threat. So you're trying to do that to slow down the pass rush to make the linebackers D-line think it could potentially be run game. Instead, they slip everybody out. 74, the center, does a great job of getting to the Mike linebacker right here, runs to his spot, gets the angle, and it's good hard running by the receiver as well. Okay, just a little bit later, again, another example. Okay, they're going to come out. Cash Jones is in the backfield. Alert screen, alert pass. It's an unbalanced set. So you got 1, 2 receivers. The inside receiver is ineligible. You have 2 tight ends here. They're going to motion 1 tight end towards the 3 receivers, and what they're going to do is end up getting 4 blockers out in front, both receivers, both tight ends, and they're just going to throw this swing out here to Jones. Again, easy throw and catch. Auburn defends it fairly well. They actually have a guy there, and he misses the tackle, and Jones turns it into a first down and a big gain. Okay, it's one of those things, again, where you're just going to have to do a good job defensively. They will use this formation, this motion, to do a lot of different things. If you spend too many guys outside, they will come back and run the other direction with the quarterback or with the tailback. Here, they get the look they want. Safety's right there, just got to make the play in the hole. If you do, you're fine. Otherwise, has a chance to be a first down. But the big thing is just those personnel alerts, okay? Next play, Cash Jones is not at tailback. Here's somebody else. Here they are again with the tight end, Oscar Delp, just like the first play that I showed you. He's going to start out wide, but now he's going to motion in, and instead of throwing the ball like they did on the previous play, they're going to get into a run game. So they're going to use him to pin the edge. They're going to pull 2 guys out in front. Safety does a great job fitting and really limits the gain right there. But you have to do a great job in your communication and in your fits right here. As they motion the tight end down. So you've got 1 to block 1. Tackle's going to be here. In this case, they're going to pull the guard in the center. He's going to pull. He's looking to kick out the first guy that he sees. He's going to look to turn up and lead on the safety. The backside is trying to cut everything off. They're not going to block this guy. If he comes screaming down the line, Stockton can pull it with a chance to run the football. So you've got to have somebody responsible for him in the run game. He gets the handoff right there. Again, safety fits it great, but you've got to be sure to make the tackle. And that's 2 back-to-back plays where number 8 flat out misses a tackle on Jones on the screen and then, gives up a first down on the next one right there. This is the very next play again, okay? This is something Ole Miss has done and Lane has used in his playbook. I'm sure it's something that they will work, okay? So they start here in this bunch set, again, with ineligible guys. He's ineligible because the outside guy's on the line of scrimmage. They're going to motion this guy out really just to try to add numbers or detract from what's in the box. But I'm going to go ahead and flip to the end zone. So what they're going to run right here, they're going to motion out Branch, their best receiver. What they're going to run right here is quarterback counter. So it's what's called a GY or a GH counter. So G meaning guard, in this case number 63, and the Y or the H meaning their sniffer, number 4, tight end. Okay. So they're going to run counter. They're going to down block on the front side. He's probably going to work back. They're going to pull 63. He's going to kick out the first thing he sees. 4 is going to pull. He is going to lead on the first thing that he sees. Now, what they're going to do here that's an interesting wrinkle is they're going to take their tailback, and he is going to run a wheel route. There is nobody over the top of him. There's a deep safety that you can kind of see that's a good 12 yards off the ball. Okay, so they're not worried about him. So he's going to read 24. If 24 collisions or runs with number three, Stockton's going to keep it and run it. You've overloaded the right side of the offense, so the defense has dedicated more guys to that side. Now you're going to negate another guy with the route. So if 24 attacks, then he's going to pull up and throw it to the number three before the safety that's deep can react. So here, right there, they fan out to 24. Three releases anyway. And it's clear that he's releasing to run the route. What you can't tell is if this is actually live because he doesn't actually look at it clearly. I think they're just trying to decoy it. I think they're honestly trying to run the route to try and get guys out of there and away from the quarterback run game. But teams have, including Ole Miss, used this as a live RPO read where he is running the wheel route. Okay. Now here, Auburn does a great job right here, just on the back side, just absolutely controlling the middle of the formation, and they're able to kind of cause the pile and really, really limit the gain right there. But, I think that they do get a little bit of a bad rap there about not being overly creative as an offense. They have wrinkles every week, and they do some good things and find some ways. Now, these are the type of situations that you've got to win as an Ole Miss defense. And again, things you have to be aware of. Who's at tailback? 32, Jones. Pass screen, high alert. This is a 3rd and 11 near midfield. For most teams, if you're a fan on Saturday watching any game, you're thinking 3rd and 11. It's probably going to be a drop back pass, maybe a draw, right? You need to spend a lot of time thinking about screens, especially if 32 is in the game. So here they're going to motion number 16 over, and all they're doing is trying to get him in position. They're going to throw the ball to their most electric skill guy, number 1. They're going to get it out in front to him. Auburn does a good job running to the football. Georgia is okay with this being a 4th and 5 right here.
Yeah.
They'd rather have that than it be a 4th and 11, 4th and 14 after a sack or something. So they're fine to do this because they feel like, okay, either we like our kicker here or we're in a better situation to pin them deep, or we're going to go for it, right? And so they are more willing to run these types of screens on typical passing downs more so than anybody else. But those little things are always in alerts, and just personnel-wise, seeing 32 in the backfield, one of those things. I mean, you can see as soon as this ball snapped, everybody on Auburn's dropping right now. The D-line doesn't have great awareness, but 2 of them do turn right now and run and end up getting there and being a part of it. So Ole Miss is going to have to do a good job. I'm sure they've spent a ton of time talking about screen game these past couple of weeks. Okay. Here's another 3rd down. This is a little bit later in the game. Here is another 3rd down right here. So again, you're across midfield. You're looking at a 3rd and 7. Cash Jones is in the backfield. Here they actually start with Branch, the guy they threw the last screen to in the backfield. They're going to motion him out now and throw the exact same screen, just window dressing it another way. Auburn does not respond the same way this time. They're not in the same look. UGA gets a little bit better, maybe gets away with one right there, and end up getting the 1st down right here, and they convert. They are happy to call these screens. They feel like they're safe. They have a lot of faith in the way that they screen and how versatile their screen game is.
It
Ole
almost
Miss
looked
is
like
gonna
he
see a
had
lot.
turned up the field before the snap. I know on the film it's hard to tell, but
So here, it's
it's
he
close.
shuffles, turns. It's close. It is definitely close. All right. So, again, talk about creativity, talk about little things. Here's an RPO here. Who's in the backfield that is not number 32? They're going to take number 1. Again, arguably the most electric guy. They're going to bring him in motion, and they're just going to run a simple pop pass with the tight end. They love getting their tight ends involved. They've done it for a long time, and that didn't go away when Brock Bowers graduated to the NFL. Okay. Here, it's just a little play action pass. It's not even an RPO. They are 100% trying to work the tight end down the seam right there. And you can see if 17 does not get his hands on it, it's absolutely going to be a big play. They called Auburn. They thought the motion would probably trigger a certain response. It did. Got him into cover 3. So as a result, if it's cover three, what we're saying is that the corner is responsible for a third of the field, basically from the hash out. This safety that is the middle field safety is responsible for the middle third. The opposite corner's got the outside third. By formation right here, the outside receiver is pretty wide. That means the corner's got to line up wide. So what you would to normally tell him in cover three is if my guy goes vertical and the number two receiver goes vertical, what I want to do is I can't run with my guy. I have to apex. I have to be over the top and I have to split those two guys so that I can try to react to either as I read the quarterback. Here, one, burying him as a tight end where he might not be seen by the corner as easily, but then using the motion to try to trigger the coverage response, which they get, but having the wide split by the outside receiver. Now, as soon as this safety rotates, if he doesn't see the tight end, if he over rotates, which is kind of what happens right here as it starts, he just loses the tight end, over rotates. That is an easy decision right there for the quarterback. And Auburn is pretty lucky 17 got his hands on it. And you can see it from this angle. Easy play action. His eyes are on that safety. He knows exactly where to go with this football, and they just missed. Ole Miss is going to have to do a great job of, kind of taking away some of those easy seam and post throws that they like, but they're going to have to do a great job in the screen game. Georgia has not been overly impressive running the football this year, but I do think Ole Miss is going to have to play arguably their best game of run defense in order to walk out of Athens with a victory on Saturday.
Is that your last one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm curious because I'm kind of a thought process in my mind going into this game. And again, this is my pro sports affinity probably. I sort of look at these two games, Georgia and Oklahoma, as, pick your sport, hockey, basketball, baseball. I was watching a documentary on the Thunder winning the title this year, so I'll do basketball. You open a 7-game series on the road, right? 2 games. And you'd love to get them both, but you want to get one.
You got to get one.
And so I kind of think this 2-game series with Georgia and Oklahoma is that way, where if you win them both, hey, good for you. Break out the champagne. You're going to the playoffs, but you don't want to lose them both. You just want to win one of them. I know we're going to turn to Oklahoma next week. Which of these 2 games in your mind is more winnable for Ole Miss, knowing what you know today, Georgia or Oklahoma?
I've not watched enough Oklahoma to give a definitive answer. Okay. That's kind of the reality, and I especially haven't watched them with the return of the quarterback.
So the computers put this for Ole Miss this game Saturday at about 35%. They put the Oklahoma game at about 51%. You've seen a lot of Georgia. You know them well.
Yeah. It's hard to go into Athens. Look, it's going to be a great atmosphere. It's going to be a big, loud crowd. And they're an extremely well-coached football team that has stockpiled talent. It's going to be hard to go in there. Can they do it? If they go in there and whoever Ole Miss rolls out there at quarterback plays the way that Alabama's quarterback played when they faced each other, absolutely they can do it. Because I do think, Ole Miss is skilled. They're skill guys, running back, wide receiver core, tight ends. They're as good as anybody in the SEC.
Yeah.
Are arguably in the country, right? Ohio State it's ridiculous what they have in their receiving core, right? And there's some other extremely talented programs. Ole Miss's skill guys are extremely good. They've got a proven tailback with another guy that's shown the ability to flash and do it as well, right? They've had 2 quarterbacks now play well at times, and they've had multiple receivers show up in multiple moments, and they've got multiple tight ends that can play. So, from that standpoint, if the line of scrimmage can handle their business, I think Ole Miss has a chance in both games. Absolutely. But that is ultimately going to be the question. And I think the interior of the Ole Miss defensive line is going to be up to the challenge. It's my question is, will the edge of the defensive line, will the linebackers be up to the challenge against this Georgia offense? And then, next week, Again, a lot of praise for Georgia's defense. They're extremely skilled and talented. But that Oklahoma defensive line is caused fits all year. You know,
Yeah.
that front's really caused people problems. So, yeah, I think you're right. You feel like you got to take one. And so you do wonder, are they going into these games feeling better about one than the other? And does that mean that maybe they keep an ace in the sleeve? I don't know. I don't think pride and ego lets you do that very often, right? It's one thing. Did they keep aces in the sleeve last week? Absolutely, because they thought the pair of tens would win easily, you know? Um, but this week, next week, you can't afford to.
Hey, great stuff. We're brought to you by RiverLand Roofing. Again, to learn more, 662-644-4297. Visit their website, riverlandroofing.com. I'll be in Athens on Saturday, assuming I get there safely. Good Lord willing. I'll be in Athens on Saturday. We'll have coverage at rebels247.com. Chase Parham will host the MPW Digital postgame show immediately after Ole Miss and Georgia. Again, 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern on ABC. And then Pete and I will be back next week. We'll get you ready for Ole Miss at Oklahoma. That game's an 11 a.m. game, also on ABC from Gaylord something stadium. Beautiful stadium. I've been to it. I just can't remember the name of it in Norman, Oklahoma. So for Pete DeWeese, I'm Neal McCready. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being with us. Hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the games. And we will talk to you again next week on Pete's Pigskin Preview. Take care.